Hey everybody, it's Steve from Scroll Rips here, checking in with another entry, and I wanted to talk about something that's going on that's pretty topical right now. I think the story has hit a lot of different mediums, whether you've seen it maybe through some Facebook videos from other um, content creators in the community or Instagram or otherwise. But we've got another big whatnot scam situation having occurred, and of course, for this particular one though, it had to do with a One Piece opening where the streamers opened up some One Piece for Coop's collection, which I will admit, having being relatively new to the community, I wasn't fully aware um, of his work. But after going in and taking a look and looking at all the great positive things and such a positive influence he is in the community, um, it's just crazy that he ends up being a victim of one of these scams. But uh, the only positive side is that because somebody's so well known in the space, um, was victimized by this, is that we can get more awareness and hopefully that can start correcting people's behavior, because this is not the first time this has occurred. It continues to give Whatnot a bad name. I know there's going to be bad actors on all platforms, right? That's never going to go away because there's just bad people out there. That's unfortunately a reality, the reality of life. Um, so it'll never get rid of everybody, but if we can kind of bring that awareness and everybody can be a little more vigilant, right, and kind of deciding who they're doing business with. Unfortunately, um, it can still happen, but creating that awareness in the space, I think, is huge. Um, so again, like I said, Whatnot, this isn't the first time. We've seen another big instance where Whatnot streamer had um, been opening Evolving Skies, and you could tell, right, from the way they're opening the cards, the way they slightly like fanned them out. You could see it was an Umbreon VMAX alt art in that pack, and then they take the cards off screen and bring it back on, and then he goes through it, and all of a sudden it's just like a V or something, and very obvious what was going on there. That was a whole huge debacle. Now, in this situation, with Coop's collection, they were opening One Piece. They go to open a pack. They slightly turn it, and you can only slightly see the first card, but it was an indicator of it being a God Pack, which is a huge hit, a very small hit rate for God Packs, right? I think it was like I saw a post stating that the odds of that is something like 1 in 2,000 packs, which is crazy small, right? Who's opening 2,000 packs? Not many people out there have the means to do that. So, along with that and the value of the cards in that pack, I think the value it's estimated at like over $2,000 for that. So obviously, people see that and then they're like, dollar signs in their eyes, and that's all they can see. And so now they see a potential for benefiting themselves, which is so crazy because you could see that it was a God Pack. And then they take the cards off screen, and then, despite their best attempts of whispering, you can hear them say, "It's a God Pack, it's a God Pack," right, to one another, um, and then those cards never reappear. They just put those off to they take them out of frame, and then he goes to opening another pack. I mean, how crazy is that? Like, how obvious are you being? And then supposedly the guy's like saying something about it, like, "Oh, we're gonna sleeve it." Like, anybody who creates content or does live rips, like those moments are huge because you can clip that and you can post that, and you're going to get tons of views on that, and that is just an absolute money maker, as it were, in terms of getting people to flow to your page, right? Being able to clip it, put it up there, just get a lot of views, a lot of traction, a lot of traffic for your page, and yet you don't show any of the cards. You don't go one by one. You don't show all of them. You don't hype it up. You don't do any of this, which is kind of the whole point of doing a live stream, a live rip and ship, right? Is the energy and that sort of thing. And so, I want to come on here and comment a little bit about it and say, unfortunately, right, this isn't the first time that it's happened on Whatnot. And when I was first starting out, I was asked if I was gonna stream on Whatnot, and I said I gotta be honest. It's like I don't really have any intention of doing that because it's gotten such a bad reputation with all the scammers, not just Pokemon, but a whole lot of TCG, um, card collectors in general. Like there's been so many instances, and again, like I said, there's going to be bad people everywhere. There's going to be people who try to scam or get one over on somebody else for their own benefit. But Whatnot seems to be, one of the most publicized platforms for this stuff happening, and I'm sure it happens on other ones like TikTok. I've only done the one live on TikTok so far. Um, I'm going to stream again on TikTok and going forward as I continue to build a following. Um, but it's just crazy to me, Whatnot's allowing stuff like this to happen. Now, again, it's hard for them to prevent, right? How are they going to be able to know if these rip and shippers out there are going to do some live pack openings and then screw over the customers, right? Almost impossible um, to prevent, right, or foresee. But man, what can we do about punishing people like this? Like it's not, it's and what's crazy is, from my understanding, is they like shut down the account or they shut down their own account, whatever it might have been, and then try to come back as another one, and then it was identified like super quick. So they've pretty much screwed themselves over for one pack, right? Let's think about this. For one pack, even if it's like a couple $1,000s, like if you are good at streaming, it's something that can be beneficial and profitable for you for years, right? Years. I've a couple ones that I have followed. I've been following for a couple years before I even decided to get into the space, and there's only a few of them that I've trusted to actually rip and do all that for me on the live, and I've had no problems. I've gotten the cards; they're all still in great condition. I've never had to worry with these. So I did watch them for a while before I decided to buy in, right, and partake in a live rip. So I think that's definitely advisable, right? Especially for those that you don't have, a whole lot of history out there to be able to look at. And I even say that as somebody who's new to the game here and hasn't streamed a whole lot, right? I've only done the one live stream. I've created videos here and all that, but that doesn't really help build a rapport or be able to show that the trustworthiness, right, of the streamer. So that is part of one of the things I want to build up, and with my branding and just continue to put that message out there that, to me, integrity is a huge thing for me in my life, right? I hold myself to a very high standard in general, but honesty and integrity are huge to me. Doing the right thing, even if it's the hardest thing to do, is just one of the biggest principles that I live by. And that might come off as sounding pretty self-righteous and that sort of thing, which that's fine, but that's what I live by, because to me, that's going to be able to serve me going forward, right? Being kind, being generous, being compassionate, maintaining my integrity so that I can look at myself in the mirror every day and not have to, um, not have to be worried about the things that I've done. So to the best of my ability, that's what I try to uphold. And, I especially hold that true for a business, right? Establishing a long-term following is very difficult to do, right? Building that trust is very difficult to do and build over time. It takes a lot of time, but it can be broken so fast and be lost, and your reputation go down, and then your whole business goes away, right? Now, while I'm still building my business, building trust is huge. Um, and it's not a very big business, but in order for me to reach the levels that I aspire, I have to I have to continue to uphold integrity as one of my core values. That I promise to you. If you're watching this and you decide to check out one of my live streams, I promise you, you will get everything that you paid for. I will protect it, package it, and wrap it up in as best condition as possible. Having been a collector who has partaken in rip and ships, I take that very seriously. I've had no problems getting my stuff in good condition, and I've seen how it can be done. And so that is something I also hold really important for the business. So, I hope to continue building that trust, but man, it is really hard when you've got people out there like this that create these terrible situations, right? Why are we trying to screw over other people in the community? Now, I know this was in particular with One Piece, but I mean, for a few bucks, really, like okay, I get it, $2,000. That's a good chunk of change right now. But in the long run, like I said, if you're good at streaming and you're doing things right, it can be very profitable, and you can do it for the foreseeable future and make way more than $2,000. So what is the point of scamming a person over for that? And especially, they pick the wrong person, right? So I hope some of this brings awareness to folks out there, and right, be vigilant about the breaks or the rip and chippers that you do buy into. My suggestion would be to watch them for a bit first, right? Just kind of fly on the wall in lives and check out the reviews and all that if possible. And I say that even at the potential that kind of gets held against me, because I am new to the game. I've done one stream. I've only sold a few things on the live stream. And there's not much of a track record out there for me to point to. I will say I do have an eBay account under Scrow Rips as well, and I've sold quite a few singles on there, and I've got nothing but positive feedback. But I also, like I said, the packaging, I try to do my best to make sure these things are getting in the same condition I'm sending them out. And that's very important to me, right? And having that confidence that people can do business with me, knowing that they're going to get what they paid for, and what I've advertised based on the photos and the descriptions I put up there, is huge. It's huge, especially when I was starting out. Somebody had to take a chance on me, right? I started out, created the account, had no feedback on there, but eBay does provide a little bit more in terms of the protections on there. So I felt like that was a good way to get my foot in the door, is to start with some business there, and then I can point to that. So you can check me out on eBay, Scrow Rips, check out the feedback. I've been very happy that all the customers so far have received their items just as I sent them, and they've been pleased with it. It's been a great experience so far. I've filled 80 plus orders and counting. And so as I continue to grow the business, I anticipate doing more lives. But as a rip and shipper, right, when these stories come out, or a potential rip and shipper, I should say, aspiring, um, these stories are concerning, right? And it makes it a lot harder for those of us to get into the game when it's already saturated, right? There's already so many people out there. Um, I think there's a lot of distrust out there because of these things actually occurring and being documented. But a few things too, off the top of my head, I'm thinking for things you're not going to see on the stream. I will not take cards off camera. You know, I will go through all the cards on camera. The cards should never come out of frame, right? Now, it might happen like accidentally for a second. Maybe, somebody goes to turn or something and forgets, right? Because they're new. I've seen that happening on other streams when new folks are getting trained and that kind of thing. So those sorts of things happen. But I mean, it should not leave the frame for several seconds and then never reappear on it, especially. That's crazy, right? Card's not going out of the frame. You're going to get everything you paid for. It's going to be shipped to you in the best condition possible, the best packaging possible, to keep things affordable for everybody, right? It's just these things are very important, and I think part of just the basic foundation of doing business is you should be able to trust who you're buying from, that you're going to get what you actually paid for, and somebody's not going to steal from you. I think that goes without saying, right? And uh, but here we are, talking about yet another situation like this, and so unfortunately, not the first time. Like I said, the Umbreon instance, it's not the first time with Whatnot, and again, it's not limited to just one platform. There's going to be evildoers and scammers all over the place. Like I said, I have been scammed, not in the rip and ship space. But unfortunately, I did experience that with trying to procure some of the inventory for the shop. And so I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that, and it does not feel good. It feels, absolutely gutted, right? And so the last thing I would ever want to do is give that feeling to somebody else. Um, so, you know, continuing to interact in professional and trustworthy fashion is huge. That's paramount for me. One of the top priorities. I want everybody that orders from me to not have to worry 1 second. It just not even be a thought in your head when you hit, click the buy button or click, the checkout button, and worry about what you're actually going to get. Like, no, that's not going to happen. I promise you. That you will get everything that you paid for, and if something unforeseeable happens in terms of like shipping and those sorts of things, I will work with you 100% in trying to make it right. And I promise that, because I know, to me, the service and the trust and building those relationships with customers that can extend far beyond one transaction is so much more important. And not to mention just like doing the right thing. Like I think that's something that unfortunately has become more and more rare these days. Just seeing people do the right thing. Like, it's not always going to be the easiest thing, and typically the right thing is a little bit more difficult, right? But that's just kind of my personality. That's just who I've been. Um, I'm one of those people that firmly believes that regardless of whether anybody's watching or not, like, I know if what I'm doing is right, or if I know if I'm doing um, the thing that best reflects on me and my character, regardless of if anybody's watching. And so that is very important to me, and that's something that I've um, held on to um, since a very young age, right? And I think that's critical in building a um, solid relationship with customers. So, if you still made it to the end of this video, appreciate it. A little long-winded, a little bit of a rant on scammers and all that, but appreciate your guys' views and your support. If you're not already, let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button for me as well. It'd be much appreciated. Hopefully get some of my content out there and get more eyes on it. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials on TikTok and Instagram at ScroRips. And go ahead and check out our shop, scrowrips.com. And let me know in the comments what your guys' feelings are on these situations. Is stuff like that going to keep you away from ripping ships? Is that a deterrent? Are you able to kind of understand that, yeah, there's a few bad actors, but then, you've done business with others and have totally been fine? Let me know your guys' perspective. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. See you later, guys.